we just finished a very good series of your biography, The Untold Story. I enjoyed it. I learned so much from it. But I came up with some very interesting questions that you'd have, which was what if? You know, life is about what if. Yeah. And one of the biggest questions I had is from your story is what if? How would I prepare for an eventuality like I lose the breadwinner of our family? And from your story, we were able to see how it happened. Not really. She was a person who contributed in the family as well. And I remember when we first had our first interview, you told me about her salary is what now fed the family. You were depending on her salary. So she was the breadwinner, and you were going into saving, which was very shocking to me, by the way. And so how has that changed in terms of what she used to do, because she was the breadwinner of the family, you're saving? And how can we be able to prepare for such an eventuality?
Thank you for mentioning that. And first of all, I want to say thank you to all the people that have gotten in touch with me through YouTube comments, through Facebook, all the various channels, some even on my phone, and also through friends and family, with your words of encouragement following the demise of my wife, and also just, the learnings that everyone has picked from that series that we just released the other day. And it's good, Casey, that we're actually linking what our discussion today with that, because I think there are clearly a lot of questions.
Yes.
And it was impossible for us to exhaust the story, but today we have an opportunity to touch on some of the things that we were not able to touch on at that point in time. So one of them is this issue of breadwinner. And my wife and I, very early on in our marriage, we sat down and with a financial consultant. It's called Gahu. Big up Gahu if you ever come to see this video. And he asked us, he gave us an assignment which revealed a lot. What is the biggest risk we are sitting on as a family?
Yes.
And the biggest risk we were sitting on as a family was that we were depending on salaries, both of us.
Yeah.
So there was not even COVID then. It was more than a decade ago. We asked ourselves, what if we lost our jobs? What would happen to our family? And that meant that we needed to make some radical decision, and we made a very radical decision.
Which shocked me.
Yes. And the decision was to depend on one salary instead of two, and the smaller salary, not the bigger salary. That was a very radical. So very early on in our marriage, then we had to really work around our expenses.
Yes.
And limit them to the smaller of the two salaries.
Living within your means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Below your means. And the whole idea of this was really to give ourselves capacity to pay ourselves and pay ourselves well enough to catch up with time.
Yes.
Because we had not been doing that from our first salary. So that required us to really do something drastic. And I remember by the time my wife was carrying our third born, she made a comment like, you know what, I don't think I add more value anymore where I'm working. I think I can add a lot more value to the family. And so she retired at 39 years.
She retired at 39?
She retired at 39 years.
Whoa.
So we were able to hit financial redemption
when she was
39 years. And because we had been preparing for such a moment, it was an easy transition. In fact, it didn't mean that she didn't have an income, but what you were saving before, we just took whatever she was earning and we said, now, that now will be coming to you to take care of what we're taking care of.
Wow.
And that was really liberating because it helped her and our family to really raise our children, nurture our children with the presence of my wife. And 2-3 years later, we were able even to get a business for her, buy a business for her, which she was running until her demise. And so she was even able to bring more income into the family.
But she was doing it because she was doing it for passion, not
But
because
now,
she needed to do it.
But now she was doing what she loved to do.
Yes.
Every single day of the year.
It's true, because even when I used to meet her once in a while, she's not in a rush to do anything. She was never in a rush to to the office.
She was living her life, enjoying her life, enjoying her life. So this principle we continued even after she started the business, and until her demise in July this year, 2nd of July. And now I was reflecting on this issue of, okay, my wife is not here. And one of the things that really hits you when a spouse dies is that one income is lost.
Yes, that's true.
One income is lost. And it started occurring to me, by the way, what if it was me? What if it was me and it was her now who was left behind? What kind of adjustments would she have had to make? And this really hit me home about the what if a breadwinner exits. And there are two scenarios. You had been preparing for it, or you had not prepared for it. Let's start with the one you had not prepared for it. I was now going through my mind, what are some of the things I would have had to change now that she's not here?
Yes.
Number one, I don't think would have lived in the house would have gone to live in the house we live in today.
Okay.
Would have had to do a lot of restructuring. It's important, if you are not prepared for it, it's important that you respond to the situation immediately. You get it?
Yes.
So you need to downsize very quickly. Otherwise, what you'll end up, you'll pile up debt.
Yes.
We probably will not have been able to afford taking our kids to an international school as we do today. We probably will not have been able to maintain some of the club memberships that we have today. We probably will not have been able to afford other things that we comfortably afford today. And that would have been a drastic shift in the lifestyle of our family, and especially our children. Maybe as adults we can figure out how to shift around, but if your children have been born into a settled family, financially settled family, and then you are having these drastic negative changes, it can affect them psychologically, it can affect them, it can make a grieving situation a lot more worse.
Yes.
So what we're basically saying, if someone loses if there's anyone listening to me and they have lost a breadwinner, the first advice I would tell them that you need to make some changes. You need to make some adjustments so that you have as little pressure as possible. You need to give yourself a chance to start again. You need to give yourself a chance to move forward without unnecessary pressure. There's already enough pressure around you. So that's my piece of advice. And it would also be nice to sit with a financial advisor. Like, if you can come to Nabo Capital, we can help to figure out what kind of adjustment that you need to make so that you can be able to move forward. Yeah. That's one. The other one is if you had been preparing for it. If you had been preparing for it, and how do you prepare? How do you prepare for the loss of a breadwinner? And it's such a difficult subject to talk about.
Yes, it is.
Because people don't want to talk about this reality, but it is a reality. And my wife was in ICU for 21 days, and every single day I saw people die, and eventually she also passed on. And what hit me home after that was, every person I saw dying was someone's husband or someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's son, someone's dad. And I was like, wow, there are so many spouses who are losing their loved one every day. And this started putting this intention in me. I need to talk about this. You know, we investment advisors, we fund managers, we investment managers, we talk about these things sort of from an abstract point of view. Yeah, but I really wanted to bring my life story here and use it as a case study. Yes. To help as many people as possible, the ones who may be grieving and the ones who are not grieving, but have it's a possibility. Yes. They might grieve their spouses in the future, which is almost certain to happen at some point. So how do you prepare for the loss of a breadwinner? It comes back to something that is so fundamental and something we are so passionate about in Nabo Capital: investing with purpose. Investing with purpose. It doesn't matter whether you're a billionaire or whether you live in the slum. With this one common denominator that we have: we must eat, we must clothe, we must have shelter. Yeah, that's true. And that's what we call lifestyle. You can't build a house from the roof. You build a house from the foundation. The foundation of your investment is to make sure that your family, at no point in time, will it ever lack food, shelter, and clothing. And when I talk about shelter, I am not saying you own a home. You can at least pay some rent. Owning a home is an expensive thing. Yeah. At least you can afford to pay some rent, and you can have a roof on top of your head for you and your family. So I'm speaking here now to couples, and to couples who are in this situation, who need to think ahead. Yes. Who need to think ahead. So first and foremost, make sure you have a lifestyle portfolio. Lifestyle portfolio will make sure that your children will never lack food, will never lack shelter, will never lack clothing. As you can notice, I have not even mentioned education. Education is not basic. Education, we consider it to be basic from a society point of view. Yes. But when things are really thick, education is the least of your problems. You can take your kids to a free education system. You can take your kids to a public school if it is so bad. If it is so bad. So those are that is one. Number one is life. You need to have a lifestyle portfolio. Number two, we need to build a security portfolio. And these portfolios, not portfolio. And this caters for I call the disruptive expenses. The disruptive expenses, the things that they come and shake a family.
Okay.
Number one is education.
Okay.
Education. we spend so much money in education. In fact, it has been proven that parents are willing for a family to go without food to pay
For education.
education and give their children access to the best education possible.
That's true.
So, because education is increasingly expensive, it tends then to be disruptive to the sense that you can dip into your lifestyle fund or your lifestyle portfolio to pay for education.
Yes.
So here what we do is to really very intentionally set up a portfolio that will pay education for your children for as long as they'll be in school. So you'll never, when it's time to pay for school fees, when you have quite a number of customers like that, they just prompt us.
Yes.
And then we send them the money enough to pay for school fees, and it's paid. One of our customers called me the other day and said, Pius, I called you just to say thank you. Asked her why they thank you, and said 4 years ago I told you about how I would want to take my kid to college in the US.
Yes.
You gave me an investment plan. We followed the investment plan, and yesterday I asked Nabo to send me some money to pay for and it is a lot of money to pay for this term or this semester, and Nabo sent me the money. It was quite some money, and Paz, I didn't have to do what I would have had to do before, like get some money here, borrow some money there, ask for some friends or for some money here. It was stress-free, and like, this is the best decision I ever made.
And it was just 4 years ago.
It was just 4 years ago.
Wow.
In fact, she was so way ahead of the goals we had set.
Yes.
So this is just one of the many examples of our clients who are using Nabo to pay school fees for their kids.
And they didn't have to touch any other money. It's just education portfolio, that's
it. It is education portfolio. So even if they never get money from that education to pay rent, it is dedicated to paying
education.
For education.
Wow.
And that means even if a breadwinner is not around, your kids will still go to school. Your kids will still go to school.
Yes.
And by the way, when you talk about the loss of a breadwinner, we probably, in people's mind, is maybe a spouse has died.
Yes.
No, not just necessarily that. Even in cases of where a couple have divorced.
Yes.
Couples don't fight about their children's well-being. They fight between themselves.
That's true.
So setting these sort of portfolios way before, it just eliminates some of the challenges that divorcees would go through.
Yes.
You get. So education is one of the disruptors of life. Then there is also home ownership.